Millions of kids are living with anxiety. This time of year can be a bit overwhelming with final exams. In today's Health Minute, Mandy Gaither explains how students can overcome the feeling.
As the school year starts to wind down, the stressors may begin to pile up.
You have final exams and standardized tests, big projects, just a lot of things coming to a close.
Licensed therapist Jody Baumstein with Children's Healthcare of Atlanta's Strong for Life program says anxiety in children can lead to symptoms like stomach aches, headaches, irritability. It can push a child to procrastinate, withdraw, or isolate themselves to focus on school and the pressure they feel.
So it's just important to really pay attention to some of these behavioral signs that they might be struggling with some anxiety, but don't necessarily have the words to name it.
Baumstein says parents can help ease anxiety, offer to watch your child practice a presentation, carve out free time to give them a break from studying, ask open-ended questions to monitor how they're doing, and listen.
We want to just acknowledge and validate, yes, it makes sense to me if you're feeling nervous. I get that. That immediately puts their mind at ease because they see that there's nothing wrong with them for feeling that way.
Baumstein says these skills can build resilience and stay with students through adulthood.
It might be a test, a quiz, a presentation now, but it's going to be something else when they're older.
For Health Minute, I'm Mandy Gaither.
Prioritizing sleep, nutrition, and physical activity can also help. The latest job growth numbers are out, and they're stark. We'll break it down for you next.